everybody, welcome onto the mat. So this is tea and yoga number 2. So if you've got a block like this, you can use a block to sit on or use a cushion underneath the bum like I'm doing, just to elevate those hips a little bit. And you can be either in cross-legged or have those legs out long if that feels more comfortable for you. Maybe you can move yourself back to be up against a wall or a sofa if that is more comfortable for the back. So bringing those bodies, stacking the shoulders over the hips, this nice tall long spine. Bring the hands onto the top of those knees. Take a close of the eyes for a couple of breaths. Take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, then send them back down towards those hips. Take a nice long deep breath in. And a long sigh out through the mouth. Take another breath like this, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Then just bring that breath into your own natural automatic breath. Just making them a little longer maybe than what you're usually used to taking. And as you breathe in, feel that belly blow up like a balloon on the inhale and squeeze back towards that spine on the exhale. Finding some comfort here, noticing all those parts of the body that are touching the floor. Noticing how the shoulders feel, just giving them a little movement. How do those hips feel? And that spine, just moving that spine in a few directions. How do those knees feel if you're in cross-legged position? How do the ankles feel as they're touching parts of that mat? Full body scan, witnessing how that body feels. Then opening the eyes. As you breathe in, bring the hands up towards the ceiling, bring the palms together at the top. And then bringing your right hand towards the left knee and rotate around to that left side. Bringing that left hand behind the back of the body. Just breathing breaths nice and long here, in through the nose. Out through the nose if you can, unless you're using that mouth if you've got any colds or allergies. Your next breath in, raise those hands again back up towards the ceiling. Then as you breathe out, you bring that left hand to the right knee, you bring the right hand behind and you rotate to that right side. All the time staying nice and grounded in both sit bones. Your next breath in, we raise those hands again back up towards the ceiling. Your next breath out, interlace the fingers and bring the hands in front of you. Push the chest cavity into the back of the body. Draw the belly back into the spine. And really roll through those shoulder blades. Taking any space out of in between those shoulder blades. Reaching through the hands, the arms. Tucking that chin in towards the chest. Really sending that body into flexion. Pushing that back to the back of the room. And then lifting up through the chest, bring the hands behind the body, interlace the fingers, push the hands down towards the bum, squeeze the shoulder blades together, create a little space through the front of the chest, raise that gaze up towards the ceiling to get a stretch through that neck. So stretching through the front body, stretching through the back body, in both planes of movement, flexion and extension. And then bring those chests back down, release those hands, tent the fingers either side of the body. Raise up with that right hand, bring it up and over, lean over to that left side, taking lateral flexion through the waist. Reaching as much as you can through those right fingertips, but keeping that right sit bone grounded on the mat. Then bring those shoulders back up into the centre and bring that right hand back down, tenting the fingers. Raise the left hand up to the ceiling. Start to contract through that right side of the body as you lengthen through the left side of the body. Try not to let that shoulder on that left side draw towards the ear. Try and send it down towards the hip. Reach long through that top arm. Then bringing that body back into centre. Raise the hands again up towards the ceiling, palms come together. And again, releasing your right hand to the left knee and rotate around towards that left side. Bring those hands back up into the centre. And then this time bring the left hand to the right knee and rotate around towards the right side. Bring those shoulders back into the middle. Raise the hands up towards the ceiling. Bring the hands down in front, interlace the fingers, push the chest back, bring the chin in. Then release those hands, bring them behind you, interlace the fingers, push the hands down towards the floor, open the chest, lift up the gaze, lift up the chest. And then release back out, bring the fingertips to tent on the floor. Raising the left hand up towards the ceiling, rotating over to that right side, lateral flexion through that body. Then bringing that left hand down, raise the right hand up and rotate and lateral flexion over to the opposite side. Then bring those hands back down to the floor. Walk the hands forward towards the front of the mat. Then walk the hands over to the left side. Place the over to the right side, place the left hand on top of the right and sink over that right thigh. Walk the hands back through centre. Take them over then to that left side and placing your right hand on top of the left and fall into the inside of that left thigh. Then bring those hands back to centre and just allow that body to fold in the middle. Walk the hands back then up towards the legs. And then bring yourself onto the hands and knees, removing the cushions or blocks from underneath that body. So the heel of the hands come under the shoulders, knees come under the hips. So we're going to take that left leg to the back of the room and then take that left leg over to the right side of the mat. Then walk the hands over to the right side, contract through that right side of the body and try to feel that stretch from the ankle of the left foot all the way up to the shoulder of the left side. Contracting through the right side, breathing into that left rib cage, supported through that right knee, supported through the left foot and both hands. And then walk the hands back into the middle. And then take that left leg out to the side. Bring the foot flat so the toes are in line with the knee. And then start to walk the hands back towards you, bringing those bums back towards the heels. Feeling that stretch through the inside of that groin. Maybe here, just rest over that right knee for a couple of breaths. You may not come that low, you may be sitting quite high. Depends what range of movement you've got in those thighs. One more breath here. Then coming back up onto those knees. Again, bring those heel of the hands under the shoulders. This time, bring your right toes to the back of the mat, then send them over to the left side. Walk the hands over to the left side. Contract that left side of the body. Lengthen the right side of the body. Breathe that breath into that right rib cage. Moving that spine in its different range of movements. And then from here, walk the hands back towards the centre. And extend that right leg out to the side. Toes in line with the knee. And then start to walk those hands back towards that left knee and the sit bones back towards the heel. Then reach those hands forward, bring those heads down. Feel that stretch on the inside of the right thigh. Keep pushing the whole of that right foot flat into the mat or into the floor. One more breath here. Then coming back up onto our hands and knees. Bring that right knee back underneath the hip. Step both feet back to a plank position. Full long line from the crown of the head to the heels. Then start to paddle the feet as we lift up those hips, starting to squeeze those heels back one at a time. And then if you're happy to bring those heels to stillness, squeeze them back towards the mat. Soften the elbows, length through the arms, widen through the collarbones, shoulder blades into the back pockets, chest push back to the thighs, ribs and hips squeezing towards each other to connect that core strength. Maybe feel like you're lifting those kneecaps by engaging those thighs. One more breath in this downward facing dog position. Then raise up your right leg. Take a bend into that right knee, turn the hip out to the right side. Then realign the hips, bring your right knee to the heel of the right hand. Step your left toes back a little further. And then with your left hand, take a hold of the right foot and bring it underneath the body. Bringing the left hand back down to the mat and rock that left hip in and out towards the sole of that right foot. Then when you're happy, just to hold those pelvises still, pushing those hip flexor of the left into the mat, an external rotation of that right knee, right hip. Lift the chest, lengthen through the front side of the body. Try and tuck that tailbone down slightly so we don't impinge in that lower back. Then if you're happy to come down onto the forearms, just holding it here just for another couple of breaths. Notice how it feels in that right hip. Ready for when we take it on the opposite side. Just to try and find out which hip feels tighter, which hip feels weaker. Coming back up onto those hands, if you've come down on the forearms, we tuck under the back toes, we lift up the back knee, we send the right foot back to meet the left, then we paddle the feet as we start to lift up the hips, start to squeeze those chests back to the thighs. Then bring those heels to stillness again, try and find that good alignment in down dog. Wide fingers, soft elbows, soft through the shoulders, height through the hips, chest pushing back. Your next breath in, we raise up with that left leg. We bend that knee, bringing the foot to the bum. We turn the hip out to the side. And then we realign the hips. We bring that left knee to the heel of the left hand this time. Walk those right toes back. Take a hold of the left foot, bring it underneath the body, bringing it to 45 degrees less or more, and then bring that right hand back down to the floor. Rock that right hip towards that left sole of the foot. So this position is pigeon pose. Good for opening through hip flexors, taking those hips out of their normal range of movement, and just generally getting a good stretch throughout that pelvis, throughout those thighs. When you've found a little stillness here, maybe you come down onto the forearms and just let that body fold over that left leg. Just holding here for a couple of breaths. So noticing, comparing to the right side, how does the left side feel? Always being aware of how your own personal body feels and moves. The good thing about yoga, it allows you to switch more internally, more into those subtle bodies. Then coming back up onto those hands, tucking under those back toes, lifting up with that back knee, send that left foot back to meet the right, and then paddle the feet as you start to lift up those hips. Take a nod and a shake of the head. And then start to walk with the feet forward towards the front of the mat. And bring those sit bones down towards the heels and push those heels forward over those toes. Lift up through the chest here. And then if you found a good balancing point, release the hands away, bring the hands to the chest, and then just raise up through that body a little more. Trying to feel those heels stacking on top of those toes, nice and stable within that body. Keeping those shoulders relaxed, spines elongated. Maybe pushing into those palms to engage those forearms, biceps and triceps. Then release the hands behind you if you feel stable enough to do so. Bring them together at the base of the spine, interlace the fingers, push the hands down towards the floor. Squeeze those shoulder blades towards each other. Opening through those pectoral muscles at the front of the chest. Squeezing the rhomboid muscles in between those shoulder blades. One more breath here. And then releasing the hands, bring the hands back down to the floor, raise up through the bums, bringing the heels towards the mat, keeping the knees bent as much as you need to, or straightening those legs if you can, and letting go of those heads. Feet are hip width apart. Your next breath in, lift up through the body, coming to a half fold, hands on the shins, legs as straight as you can take them. So it's almost like a tabletop position with the torso, like somebody could rest a cup of tea. And then release that body back down. This time, maybe take a hold of those toes. If you need to bend the knees to grab a hold of, bend the knees. And then just find a little more straightness through those legs. Keeping those chest towards those thighs. Having a nod and shake of those heads. Breathe in, elongate the spine, maybe come up a little higher. Then as you breathe out, draw the belly back and allow that body to fold back over those legs. Nod and shake. Relax through that neck. Let traction take a hold of that cervical spine, that upper part of the neck. Your next breath in, come back up to a half lift. And your next breath out, plant the hands, step your right foot back to the back of the mat. And drop down onto that right knee and curl those back toes. Raise the arms towards the ceiling and bring those shoulders over the hips and those hips stacking over that right knee. Bring your left hand to the hip, reach over with the right arm towards the left side of the room, taking that lateral flexion again through that spine. Stabilise into the whole of the front foot, the top of the back foot, and then bring that hand back down towards the hips. Bring the hands behind and interlace the fingers. Push the hands down to the floor. Lift up through the chest. Heel toe that left foot out to the side a little. And then start to fold that chest to the inside of that left thigh. And lift those arms up to the ceiling, gazing down to the inside of that left foot. Sometimes the arms don't want to come that high, depends on the shoulders. If shoulders don't want the hands to lift, just keep them at that lower part of the spine. Work with wherever your body wishes to go. And then lifting that torso again back up towards, stacking shoulders over the hips. Heel toe that foot back into the centre. Lift the arms forward and then take your left arm under the right, bend the elbows, back of the hands come together, or double bind, bringing the palms together. And then lift those elbows, maybe lift that gaze and lift through the chest. Taking that stretch through the front side of the body, stretch through the rhomboids, contraction through those pectoral muscles of the chest. And then release those hands back down, either side of that left foot. Tuck the back toes under, step back to meet the left foot with the right, and allow that body to fold over those legs again. Your next breath in, come up to a half lift. Place the hands on the shins. That tabletop position with the back. Then as you breathe out, draw that belly back towards the spine. Maybe taking a hold of toes, bending the knees if you need to. And then see whether you can straighten up as much as you can through those legs. Encouraging those chins towards those knees. It doesn't have to reach, just an intention to get there. It may be that you're just here and the hands can't get any closer. Just so long as you feel the stretch through the back of the legs, we're doing the trick. Your next breath in, come up to a half lift. And your breath out, we release the hands down. This time we'll step back with the left foot and we drop down onto that back knee and uncurl those back toes. Then raise the arms up towards the ceiling, bring the shoulders over the hips over the left knee. Then bring your right hand down to the hip, reach over with the left arm towards the right side of the room. Try not to crunch that left shoulder up. Push into the front foot, the top of the back foot to stabilise that knee. Remember, you can roll the mat under that left knee if it's a little tight, or use a towel if you wish. Then bring that left hand back down towards the hip. Heel toe that right foot out to the side. Bring the hands behind the body. Push those palms down. Bring them together. Roll the shoulder blades towards each other and then start to fold to the inside of that right leg. Lifting those arms up towards the ceiling or keeping them low if shoulders aren't happy and they feel a little impinged. With that right foot, push into that big right toe, so you're grounding into the whole of that foot. Hold it here just for one more breath. And then release those hands back down, bring those shoulders back over those hips. Heel toe that right foot back into the centre. Bring the arms to shoulder height. This time your right arm ups under the left. And we bring the back of the hands together or we find the palms. Raise up the elbows. Then maybe lift up through the chest and the gaze. Sending it up towards the ceiling, which will challenge the balance a little. One more breath here. And then release those hands down either side of that front foot. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, step the left foot to meet the right, and allow that body to fold over those legs. Have a nod and shake of those heads. A little rock through those shoulders. And then taking a bend into the knees, slowly curl up through that spine, one vertebra at a time. As you make your way up into a standing position, and as you arrive in standing, roll those shoulders back. So coming to the front of your mat, so I'm coming to the side, just so we've got a front view. I'll be mirror imaging you here. Place the hands onto the hips, bring your weight into your right foot, and then lift your left knee up to hip high. Then taking a hold of your ankle on that right foot and then that left foot, then squeeze that left knee down to meet your right knee and push those hips forward. Roll that left shoulder back, squeeze that left foot into the bum. Really push those hips forward to feel that stretch through that front quad. The more you push your hips forward, the more you'll feel it down this left side. One more breath here. And then bringing that knee back up, taking that ankle onto the top of the standing leg. We then take a bend into that right leg. We bring the hands together at the chest. We turn that left knee out for that figure four standing pose. Toes of that left foot back to the shins to protect that knee. Keep that focus on something in front of you, something that's not moving. And keep feeling how it feels through that grounded foot, noticing those muscles, the small muscles in the ankle that finds the balance. One more breath here. And then straighten back up through that standing leg, bringing your left foot back down to meet the right. And take a paddle through those feet. And then bringing your weight, this time onto your left foot. Onto your left foot. And then start to raise that right leg, engaging the glutes on that left side. And then take a hold of that ankle, draw that knee down to meet the left. Push those hips forward, roll that right shoulder back. That right foot gets squeezed in towards the bum as much as you can take it. Find a focal point in front of you. Preferably something that's not moving. So if you have any little animals running around the room, it may not do you any favours in this balance. One more breath in this position. And then bring that knee back forward. Place the outside of that right ankle onto the top of the left knee. Take a bend into that left knee, turn that right knee out, right toes back to the shins. Bring the palms together at the chest. Push into those palms, engage those arms. And maybe sink a little lower into that standing leg. And notice how those muscles are starting to twitch in the ankle on that left foot. Nice, long, easy breaths here. Then straighten back up through that standing leg and bringing your right foot down to meet the left, take a paddle through those feet. Then widen the legs as wide as you can take them, having the toes either in front of the heels or slightly internally rotated. Bring the hands to the hips. So again, if you've got a block or a cushion, you may wish to use that to bring the hands down onto. Breathe in, roll the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. Then as you take your breath out, start to fold to a half fold, folding from the hips rather than from the lower spine. Bend the knees as much as you need to release the hands either to a block or a book or a cushion. Then we're going to place your right hand in the centre, bring your left hand onto the shoulder, turn the shoulders towards that left side of the room. Once the shoulders have turned, raise that left hand towards the ceiling. Maybe gaze up towards that thumb. Push into the outsides of the feet, using that right arm as maybe an anchor to help with the twist. Encouraging your right shoulder under, your left shoulder back. Then releasing down with that left hand, place the left hand where the right hand is. Then bring your right hand onto your right shoulder. Turn those shoulders first. Soften the knees if you're hyperextending. Soften the elbow if you're hyperextending. Once the shoulders have turned, raise up that hand, maybe raise up that gaze. So remember, if those knees are starting to lock out, give them a little bend. If the elbow's starting to lock out, give it a little bend. Keep those joints safe. Nice straight back as we've gone into this rotation of the waist. One more breath here. And then release that hand back down to the floor. Let the body forward fold over those legs. Take a nice long breath in. Nice long breath out, and let everything go. Let the weight draw the body down. Next breath in, come up into a half lift. Place the hands back on the hips. Breathe out, and then your next breath in, raise that body, shoulders back over the hips. Heel toe the feet back into the centre. And then bring those arms out to shoulder height. Come up onto the toes. And then start to lower all the way down towards the floor. Taking it as controlled as you can. And then when you get where the bums meet the heels, bring the hands behind. Bring the feet towards the front of the mat. Then bring the arms to shoulder height. And use that core control to release that body all the way down towards the mat. Get to that place maybe where you want to collapse and see if you can just control it a little more towards the floor. Release the bodies down. The heads down, the shoulders down. Bring the arms to a T shape. Bring the knees in towards the chest. So the knees are stacking actually over the hips, and we've got two 90-degree angles at the hips and at the knees. Knees and feet stay together. Then as you breathe out, with control, using the obliques at the sides of the waist, slowly let those legs lower towards the right side. Use the arms as a little bit of a stabilizer to control that movement. And when those knees come down to the mat, just let go of anything you're holding on to. Trying to keep that left shoulder down as much as you can. Maybe turn that head towards that left hand. Feel that rotation coming through the waist. The shoulders are plugged into the mat. The hips are turning, so we're on more of the right side hip. Then the same control as you went down. Slowly raise those legs. Bring them back up into the centre. Find neutral spine first, before you then slowly let those legs come down to the left. Try and keep that rotation in the waist. Try not to let that right shoulder lift. And when those knees come down, relax everything from the waist down. Maybe turn that head towards that right hand. again, with control and using the strength of the core, draw the belly back, switch on those oblique muscles at the side of the waist. As you slowly then raise those knees back into the centre, take a hold of the knees, hug them in towards the chest. And then taking a hold of the big toes with the index finger and middle finger, and then see how much you can straighten those legs without the shoulders lifting away from the floor, without those lower spines lifting away from that mat. Pushing the heels away, the toes back. The toes are maybe coming slightly past the eye gaze. Maybe you've only got to this position, but can you feel it in this chain of muscles? If you can, you've got maybe to your range of movement. Maybe holding this for a few more breaths will give you a little bit more space to move. Just let everything relax. Let the muscles start to release as you hold, and allow those muscles to realise they're not being overstretched, not trying to hurt them. And then open the legs out nice and wide, so we take that stretch to the inside of that groin. Try and let those shoulders push down. Maybe let those legs come a little wider. Keep pushing the heels away. Stretching through the posterior chain, stretching through the medial chain on the inside of the legs. Using maybe the glutes to open those legs out a little wider. And then bringing those feet back together. Take a bend back into those knees. Release those feet to the floor. Let the knees drop out to the side. Bring the hands onto the hips. So choice for me is to find relaxation in this position. But if you wish to straighten the legs out, feel free to do so. Let go of everything from the waist down. Then let go of everything from the waist up. Close the eyes. Soften the jaw. Let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. Maybe have a little rock in those hips. If you stayed in butterfly position, it's really good for massaging that lower spine. And bringing those hips to stillness. So if you choose to stay here for a little longer, feel free to do so, and then come up to seated. When you're ready, after giving a little movement through the fingers and the toes. But from me for now, have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste.